Okay, I think I'll do like another update as I'm uploading the videos that you will see. And as I'm speaking, I'm uploading. Oh, let's see. I had something in the mail. This is continuing with the. These are two extra remotes that I ordered from Amazon, and they came in the mail because I had the history of my dog eating all the remote controls. And of course, I didn't realize he ate the other one. And you know, the human condition, as silly as something like that is, and I knew like just that, oh, going through that again, because of physical or mental, who knows? Oh no, that's going to be, so instead of watching some news, I don't have remotes, and I thought like the preacher, Ecclesiastes, this is not really a teaching video. You know, I had a friend of mine tell me 2 weeks ago or last week, Christian friend, but then he was going back through all the struggles. And he said, pretty much he's like ready to kill himself or was ready to die because he's just been through a lot of stuff. And he said, it's like torture, John. He says, what else does God want from me? I'm ready. And now he made sure a few days later that he wanted to let me know. He said, no, I'm doing better, John. Like, and of course, I watched that process in life. I read Philippians last night, one of the chapters. Rejoice always. Rejoice always. I thought, and of course, then my mind will go, and I know the trigger of something small. And I thought of, oh, well, it'll be heading that way. That's the condition of life. I thought of a story my father told me in North Bergen, working at the fire department. And I remembered it. He was surprised many years later. He said, oh, you remember that. They went to a fire on a business on right where my high school was. And he was a welder, a family business, I forget, Copel, maybe Copel. But he had lit himself on fire doing welding, whatever they were doing. It was right on Kennedy Boulevard. And my dad said, when the fire department, he burnt himself to a crisp, but he was still alive. And he said, let me die, let me die. Of course he died. And I thought, would we tell people? Today we had the situation that I talked about of the hung jury in the shooting murder of a 12-year-old boy, which was, from what we understand, a case of mistaken identity. The shooter was going to shoot somebody else, but whoever answered the door, he just shot and killed. Now that's a 3-year case. I mentioned that earlier. They finally tried it. The DA himself he prosecuted it himself personally, and it was ended in a hung jury. Now, even the statements from the media that the grandparents were like, oh, we are waiting for closure, they're in distress, they're distraught. Do I blame the DA Mark Gonzalez? Did he fail in some way? This is just talking about life in general. Did he fail in some way, or did the jury fail in some way? And so the untold grief that will continue ad infinitum, for what purpose? Do we tell those people rejoice? Or do they feel like my other friend who said, why do people go through all of the, I see people that are, waiting to die. And I look at this, and some of those people that are going through various things at certain stages, okay, they're waiting. The next step for them, which is not an unbiblical step, is, okay, then you finish your course, you can die. But then it might drag out for 30, 40, 50. I think people that get treatment for various ailments are being killed so quickly. I had an uncle, and I seen him before he died. You know, I still have my mom and dad are alive. But Uncle Joe was in good shape. I seen him, he'd make these trips. I loved my Uncle Joe. And then he went and got tested because you get the insurance for everything. Oh, the blood count was low. Got to get you dead in 2 months. Perfect. Hell, he would have been going strong till this day. But he had a lot of money, a lot of insurance. Doctors take a look at that, I'm sure. Get you in for treatments. And then I see some of my friends with every single ailment under the sun. I knew a homeless guy finally passed away. He had huge cancer growths. I won't give the name, but he was here for years. He finally did die. Oh, he must have had cancer for 30, 40, 50 years, 60 years, 70. He was 78 or something when he died. And you look at the situations of life. I remember the president of the Philippines. His name, it's people say Duarte, but it's not. It's Duterte or something. Now, I'm not agreeing with him. And I think, you know, a lot of people compare him to Trump. But I remember he made some statements, got him in trouble with the church in the Philippines, predominantly Catholic church. But he made a statement in the past, I forgot what it was. Something along the lines of, he criticized the historic belief that he was taught as a young boy. He was giving a speech, and there was a priest there, and there was a priest who molested him when he was a young boy, and he remembered that priest's name. And Duterte said, "If you're here tonight, by the way," because they were like representatives from church, he said, "I will kick your, you know what. If you're here tonight, come up. I'll beat that hell out of you around." That guy fled the country. That priest left. But then he made a statement about. He said, and this is getting into the higher critics and all. But he said, "This perfect creation," he said, "and because they chose to eat of the fruit of the tree, it has been thrust into this endless cycle of murder, killing." And he said, such a beautiful creation because of one choice. Now, he was being critical of the account in Genesis. And I just read that because it came up as criticism of him, Duterte. And he said, in the whole thing, generations and generations, there will be more kids will be killed, either on purpose or by accident. And then you say, but the people that are struggling with physical, mental, that there's chemical imbalances. I had some friends over the last many years, and I'll be careful how I tell this, but over the last many years, they would tell me, "But John, there is a minister that does homeless ministry, but he too is hooked on meth." Now, multiple friends over multiple years. And some of them, even though they also are involved in that, they would say, "But John, it's a bad testimony." They said, because it's open. And some said, and we realize it's open because the person is not hiding anything. But at the same time, they said it's a stumbling block to the others. Now, I've not judged or said anything except, but I had an incident once where I was going to leave and move to New York City. And I knew some of my friends would miss me. And I worked with Henry, a homeless friend, for many years. And I said, I gave a lot of books away to that minister. And I figured, I'll bless my friend Henry. And I don't have money, a lot of money, never have. But I would give money sometimes. And I wrote a $50 check to Henry. And I knew he was a deacon and helped with this ministry. And so I left a note which was more important than the 50. And I said, Henry, I'm going to be leaving. It's time for me to just go in a different part of the journey to New York, thinking I'd live up there. I said, but take this 50, and you and brother so-and-so, his family, maybe you guys go out for a cheap meal, something like that. But I wrote it out to my friend Henry's name. And I left the note, which was more important, along with the check. And then when I came back to Texas, months later, the main purpose of that whole $50 check and note was to let my friend know I didn't just abandon him. And I didn't see him. I tried to say goodbye to my friend. Then when I got back, he never got it. Because if the minister gave him the $50 check, then the note, they were both tied together. And so I said to my friend Henry, I said, no, Henry, I wrote you a check and I wrote you a note, and he never got any of that. Now, I went and helped that brother do some things once, and I think he was afraid I was going to bring that up, and I didn't. And I said, you know, brother, we all struggle with things, but we all give an account to God. Now, I didn't say that to mean everything's okay if there's bad things happening. I just meant that to say that in God's timing, we give an account. And so some things happened just the last few days. It was like things maybe you would pray for. And I told another friend, he works with that ministry, I said, tell brother so-and-so we're praying for him. He said, oh, he didn't want anyone to know about the particular thing I said. And so maybe in some of the street guys who struggle, who have ups and downs, ministry is really, it's not an image or a picture you present. If you have faults, you have faults. If you're open, I smoke openly, and the guys know that, and a lot of people have problems with it, but, you know, I don't hide it, I smoke. I don't drink, I don't use. And so, it's just, I understand, and others said maybe, but maybe it's also that could be a stumbling block. So I understand those things. So, I'll wrap that up for now. These are just, even if your mind is not functioning right. When I do my function at night of uploading and posting, or even when I'm teaching, you learn that as a habit. You learn teaching, you learn it as it's spiritual worship. But it doesn't mean that you are not having physical, mental difficulties, because you recognize that. And it also helps you identify with people that are struggling with mental health and all those issues. Now, I uploaded a video. By the time you see this, you'll see one called Pirate Scotty. That day was a few weeks back, and I was at Brother Dave's feeding ministry. That's not who I spoke about just a minute ago. And my friend Casanova was there that day. And I don't think I've really hardly ever got Casanova on video. But by providence, right before he was murdered in Corpus Christi a few weeks ago, I got him on video. I remember because Pirate Scotty was hanging out with Casanova. So if you don't see Casanova on the video called Pirate Scotty, this is for my friends from Flower Bluff. They might want to see Casanova. Then you'll see him on the next time I uploaded the Mayo video called Friends or something. It's the same date. But I remember, so sometimes we catch our friends, you know, by providence before they die. I'm old. I wanted to mention that one thing because if you're struggling with addiction and you're in ministry or whatever, then healing's for everybody. Healing is for everybody. And it's not always to just keep the process going. There's a lot of things that happened these last few days. I could have done a whole teaching. I did not today. It was on some scriptures and things that happened. But you do what you do for the kingdom of God and for the love of man, your fellow man. But you do not try to keep an image. If I smoke, I smoke, but I don't tell other people, don't tell anyone I smoke. People know I smoke, okay? It's important that, and if other things happen, it's important in ministries for finances to be above board. And others that maybe are also in the streets, and if they see that some of that is not right, that is indeed, you don't just forge ahead giving the impression that all of that is okay. If there's things wrong, in general cases. Because that's a standard that I don't take money, I take zero. I had to make a video one day because one of my street friends said, now I didn't really check, I believed him, but he said a certain ministry is using your name to collect funds. So I made a video. And I noticed that, I just said, look, if anybody's saying we're raising money for CCOM, I said that's not legitimate. So those things happen. We love everybody. We thank people. We don't judge people. But we also understand. My friend Albert asked me today, and I'll end this because this is just really an update. He said, John, I was hanging out with him after I made that video earlier. He said, is it in the Bible that it's harder for a rich man to enter into the kingdom than for a camel to go through the eye of the needle? I said, Jesus is the one that said that, Albert. I said, that's from Jesus. So yes, it's not only in the Bible, but it's a direct word from Jesus. Just felt that was in there. All right, so I'll bless you guys. Please pray for all of my friends, the unnamed ones. Many of the friends that are familiar with me will know a lot of that in-house stuff that I discussed. And that's not being discussed to be critical. But I've had multiple friends on the streets over the years that have just brought that up. And sometimes they've said in a way that it's just not right, John. And so even though they too might be having struggles with the same methamphetamine problems, we don't go by rumors. And one of my friends said maybe he will go and speak one day, but he struggles. I think a lot of the people that are close and know each other know a lot of things that do go on. They show grace to one another, but there are timetables to things too, okay? All right, so God, this is the last update for tonight.